Hi, welcome to my channel. I am 39 weeks pregnant currently. I'm filming this video a little bit earlier than I normally do in hopes that I will go into labor. So this week has been crazy. It's just, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably read my bump update. So basically, I turned 39 weeks on Tuesday, and Tuesday I went to the doctor for my normal weekly checkup, and up until then I had not been dilated at all. Nothing was really going on. I've been swollen since about 30 weeks, and my blood pressure has been high and then it comes back down. It's been kind of fluctuating, maybe for about 5 weeks. So I went in on Tuesday. I was just miserable. Like, I just felt like huge and done and over it. So I go in, and he could tell that I was miserable. So he looks at my feet and he's like touching them. He's like, oh my gosh, these are like tree trunks. And I'm like, I know. And he's like, and then my blood pressure, I think it was like 150. No, it was only in the 140s. It was like 148 over like 86, I think. So it was a little bit high. So he touches my feet and he goes, yeah, you're done. And I'm like, I know, I feel like I'm done. And he's like, okay, so are you ready to do this tomorrow? And I'm like, wait, what? So he said, you know, like, we'll go ahead and induce you tomorrow and let's get this baby out of you. And I was just so shocked. This is not what I was expecting at all. I had no idea. Like, I was like, can you give me a minute? Oh, actually, before he said that though, he checked to see if I was dilated. He's like, let's see if you're dilated. So he checked me and I was a 2. So that was really exciting because I hadn't been anything up until now. So I was super excited that I was a 2, but he was just really concerned with my blood pressure being high and all of my swelling that he was ready to go ahead and induce me. So I was like, can you just give me a few minutes? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll go check the schedule. So he goes to check the schedule, and I called my husband and my mom, and both of them were like, you know, it's up to you. It's whatever you want to do. My husband was like, didn't you say you didn't want to do that? And I'm like, yes, I know, I said that. So my mom was kind of the same way. She's like, I thought you kind of didn't want to get induced. And I had, up until, you know, the whole pregnancy, I never cared. You know, if I get induced, if I get a C-section, whatever happens, I was just go with the flow. But I think once you get more closer to the actual event, you kind of start thinking like, do I really want to be induced, or do I really want, you know, I know nobody like wants a C-section, but it's like, do I really not care if I have a C-section? I kind of started thinking those things, especially after going to our labor and delivery classes. I learned a lot in those classes about the process of an induction and a C-section. And basically, if you're induced, they are forcing your body to go into labor with medication. And if your body's not ready to go into labor with medication and they've already started the process, I mean, there's so many different things. I'm not an expert at all, but a lot of times you can have a C-section because you've been induced and things weren't progressing with the induction. So that's not made up. I know the ratings are much higher on induced births. A C-section is much higher. Sorry, I don't know why I can't say this right. But a C-section is much higher if you have been induced versus going into labor naturally. Either way, the chance of a C-section is possible in both scenarios. But why risk it, you know, if there's no medical emergency? So that was one of my reasonings. Another one, I've just heard I've been talking to a lot of people, especially at my work, about, you know, their labor and delivery stories. And it seems like people that were induced had a lot longer labor, a lot harder, one of my coworkers did have a C-section because the baby had a reaction to the Pitocin. So there's just so many things that it's like, I just wasn't willing to take that risk at only 39 weeks. If I had been 40 weeks and he was wanting to do it, I would have said yes. But at 39 weeks, knowing I still have a whole nother week that he might come out on his own, I just wasn't ready. So I told him that, and I did feel very pressured by both my doctor and his nurse to have an induction. And I get I feel like he just kind of wanted to help me out, like, you're not feeling well, you're swollen, like, let's just do it, get it over with. But at the same time, like, those things are so minor compared to, like, the birth of my child. So I went ahead and stood up for myself and said, no, I don't want to do an induction just yet. Like, let's wait and see how things go. And having that appointment, I kind of thought, okay, if he's ready to induce me the next day, I don't think I should be working anymore. Like, I asked him about it, and he's like, you know, that's between you and your job. Your blood pressure's high, you're swollen, like, but it's between you and your work. So I decided to make the decision to start my maternity leave that day, or the very next day, and just rest. So that was on Tuesday. Today it's now Friday, and he wanted to see me back today on Friday to check everything out, see how I'm doing, and schedule a Nonstress test. So I'll get to all of today's appointment in just a second. Some other things happened throughout the week. Very TMI, so if you're not into the medical side of pregnancy and you're not into it, just click out of this video, because this is what happened, and I'm explaining it for those of you that might experience the same thing. I like to know what's going on, what other people have experienced, and how it all works. So when I got home from that appointment, after he had checked me, I had bled a lot, but it was brown, so it wasn't anything like, I know if it's like bright red, that's not good. So it was brown, so I wasn't too worried. I was kind of excited, thinking maybe this is something happening. So, talking to my mom and one of my friends, they were like, I bet he stripped your membranes if you bled like that much. And I had never bled after being checked with my cervix. So that was the first time that happened. And then a couple nights later, I lost my mucus plug, which also I was really excited about, which is like, you know, like gross, but I was like, oh my gosh, yes, things are happening. So that happened, and I thought for sure with the combination of the bleeding and then losing my mucus plug that I was like for sure gonna go into labor before today, but I didn't. So those two things happened, and I came in to my appointment today just thinking that he was gonna induce me like Monday or Tuesday, and I was just gonna be okay with it, and then 2, thinking that I would be dilated to a lot, like a 4 or 5. So I went in, I had my Nonstress test, which basically I didn't know what that was. So they put one monitor up here for the baby's heart rate, or not heart rate, for contractions, and then one a little bit lower for his heart rate. And then they give you a little clicker to click every time he moves. So it was just in a nice recliner, and the ultrasound tech was in there with me, and she's like so sweet. And so we're just sitting in there, and she's like, does he move a lot? And I was like, oh yeah. So he wasn't moving a little bit, so she kind of starts poking around, and all of a sudden he does like one of those big, where he just like jets out his foot, and she was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, I've never seen that before. And I'm like, you're an ultrasound tech and you do this for your job, you've never seen that? She's like, no, I've never seen that. And so we're sitting there, and we're just kind of like poking him around and stuff, and just like, you're just like relaxing, and it's nice. And they're monitoring everything. And he's just going crazy. Like, he's like moving, he's doing all his little tricks. And she's like, is he always like this? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I've never seen anything like this. And she's like, this is the most active baby I've ever seen. and she said, he's passing the test with flying colors. And I was like, okay, so he's supposed to move. And I guess the test is supposed to make sure that not only that baby's moving, but that his heart rate goes up when he moves. Just like if you're running or you're doing activity, your heart rate goes up. So they're just monitoring to make sure that those things are normal. And if he weren't to move a lot, or if his heart rate were to drop, then they would go ahead and do an ultrasound to make sure that everything's okay. So they look for a certain amount of movements within a certain period of time. So since a minimum of 15 minutes. So since he was moving a ton, I got taken off of it right after 15 minutes. But I heard some people can go on it for at least an hour to monitor and track all of their movements. So I was really excited about that. I'm like, well, this is great. He's already getting an A+ right there. So I felt good. They weighed me. I had only gained 1 pound since last week, so I felt good about that. And then I went in and saw my doctor, and he was like, you look so much better. Your feet are great. Your legs, I'm still swollen, but I'm not the way I was on Tuesday. And so he checked me, and I'm still at a 2. But then they took my blood pressure, and it was like 124 I think it's 128 over 84. So my blood pressure was way, way better than it was on Tuesday. And they were like, man, like you're like a totally different person. Like what happened? And I'm like, I quit working. I went on my maternity leave. I have just been resting. And they were like, well, that's really great. Like there's no need for us to schedule an induction. Everything's looking good. He's like, I'll see you next week. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'll see you for your week 40 appointment. And I just wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to have an induction scheduled for my next week. So I'm happy about it because now I know that I have the whole weekend to just try to get him out on his own. And I think he might come out on his own before Tuesday. So we'll see. But Tuesday's my actual due date. And Tuesday will just be another non-stress test. I think at this point they just want to make sure that he is, moving and reacting to everything, and that he's doing good inside me as he's getting really, he's getting a lot bigger now at this stage. So they want to do that, and then he'll just check me to see how dilated I am and stuff. So nothing out of the normal. It'll just be a regular appointment. And if I make it to that appointment, I'm hoping that I'll go into labor on my own before then. My mom always went a few days before her due date with all 3 of her kids. So I'm hoping I'll just do that too. If not, then my 41-week appointment, I don't think he would schedule an appointment for 41 weeks. I think that's when we would start to schedule an induction, because they don't want you to go over 41 weeks. And I agree. I read research on it, and your placenta can start to dry up, and also the baby could have his first bowel movement, and he could inhale it, so that could be really bad. So there's a lot of risks with going over 41 weeks. So I will, if I make it to 40, I bet we'll go ahead and schedule an induction for either later that week or right at the beginning of my 41 week point. So that was a lot of information. So that's kind of everything that's been going on. As far as symptoms or anything, it's just the normal same old stuff. I've been trying to do everything that I can. If you can think of anything, let me know, because I've been trying to do everything that I can to get him out. I've been bouncing on my ball. I ate 2 slices of jalapeno, which I hate. That was terrible. I'm not going to do that again. It burned my tongue for 20 minutes. So I did that. I need to drink more of that red raspberry leaf tea. I got that. So yeah, just any myths I've been doing. I've been doing the pressure points. I want to do acupuncture, but I don't think you can do that until after your 40 weeks. So if I go into my 40-week appointment and I'm still not progressing, I will probably call and make an appointment for that same day to go get acupuncture. And my bump is just, I love being pregnant and I'm so excited, but I just can't take this baby bump right now. Like, it's really depressing because I went so long feeling so great about myself, and now I have pups. He said it was pups now. I have a rash under, like right in the lower bottom part of my belly, and he said that's pups, which I knew what that was since I kind of had a little episode of that earlier in my pregnancy. But this time it's like really itchy and really red. And then I've just got like stretch marks and veins. It's just gross. Like, I don't know how women do it. Like, I just can't even stand to look at my stomach bare at this point. And I just can't wait to have my baby and to have my skin go back down. And I'm hoping that once my skin isn't so stretched out, it will kind of take back its normal shape, and the stretch marks will kind of fade, hopefully. I started using the It Works stretch mark cream yesterday, and I've been using it almost, I put it on my bathroom sink, so like anytime I go into my bathroom, I'll like rub it on. So I'll go ahead and show you guys, because I'm being real. This is what 39 weeks pregnant looks like. So that's really close. Okay, so here it is. I mean, at least everyone says like, oh, I'm all belly, because that would suck if I wasn't. Like, these maternity shorts, I mean, they don't really fit that well, but they are still an extra small, so we're doing okay in other departments. It's just this belly. So here's what my bump looks like. It's all kinds of crazy. There's my linear line thing, then there's stretch marks, and there's like shiny stretch marks, and there's a rash down here, and then I always have like lines from my clothes and my seatbelt. Like, it's just a lot going on. Here it is from the side. I do think that he's dropped a little bit, nothing super noticeable, but I noticed that my belly button, I feel like before I could see it, and now it's kind of lower. Here's there. And then I'll show you guys like from the back too. I don't know if that makes any difference, but that is my gigantic baby bump. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you're going through the same things, I feel you, and we can do this. So thanks for watching. There probably won't be a 40-week video because I'm thinking I will go into labor, and I usually film these at the end of the week that I'm in. So at the end of 40 weeks, he'll be out. So this is my last one. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.